Welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll Icons with Bodie James, broadcasting from Redemption Studios in Big Bear, California. Today, we've got Jeff Pilson, one of the most highly respected bass players in the business and a genuinely nice cat, man. How are you?
Good. I didn't know I was one of the genuinely most respected. I like that. That's
Yeah,
very cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just you, thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that. I wanted to start real quick with what's going on in DC. Happened a couple of days ago, but now it's kind of interesting now that John Schaefer from Ice to Earth is on the list of people they're looking for.
Wait, who is that?
John Schaefer, the founder of Ice to Earth.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, he's one of the guys on the FBI's wanted list now. Yeah.
Wow.
It was kind of a shock.
Militant metal.
Yes, exactly. Brings a new meaning to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, the thing that right now actually has me a little concerned. I get Twitter and Facebook and everything banning the president because of the speech. Mm-hmm. But for people that are in our business, censorship kind of becomes a slippery slope.
Of course it does.
Look back to the PMRC.
What
happened with that? Right. What are your thoughts?
Well, it is a slippery slope. I mean, you know, I always go back to the thing of you can't yell fire in a movie theater, you know? That's true. So it honestly, I mean, it's getting to the point, you know, our laws have generally been with some degree of civility and humanity in mind. You know, there's, you know, there are things that, you know, are clearly outlined, but you know, for certain things, there is almost an honor system involved, you know, and I think that it really is down to you have to make the practical decision case by case, because some are fire in the movie theater. Obviously, the president, you know, even if his intentions weren't, you know, I'm sure he didn't want people to die. You know, that's not his, but he's an old enough man and he's responsible. I mean, he should be responsible as president of the United States to realize that by saying the things he said, this could happen. Okay. So his speech clearly can incite insurrection.
Yep.
So in that case, to me, that's fire in the movie theater, you know? Saying fuck on a record is not, in my opinion.
Exactly.
You know, kill the cops. I mean, is that insightful?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I gotta say, are we really going to be a better society, or are we going to be a worse society if we don't have music that says kill the cops? You know what I mean? I think there just has to be practicality and common sense.
Yes.
And you know, I'm caring less and less about the whole what did I want to say? I'm caring less about the whole it's politically correct, all, you know, or it's the legal thing or anything. I'm getting to like, okay, I'm sick of all that. What's common sense? What's good for people? What's good for everybody, you know? And to me, it's just, we got to return to common sense. I mean, you know, when you see the vitriol on the people that were interviewed, that were in that insurrection the other day, mm-hmm. A lot of them really do believe, I don't know if they've just worked themselves into believing, but they really thought that the election was stolen. Yeah. How did we get to that point? You know, I mean, I saw one guy talking about the Supreme Court wouldn't help and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's because there was no evidence.
Exactly.
How do we get the truth out there of what's going on? You know, I mean, a lot of those people, I'm sure, are genuine patriots and they really believed in their cause. And they really believe in freedom. But when they get massive misinformation, how are they supposed to judge accordingly? How are they supposed to dictate what to do? So now misinformation becomes a thing. Yeah. And I think misinformation has to be dealt with. I think it's one of the biggest problems that's going on. You know, I don't know if you saw that movie, The Social Dilemma.
Yes.
Fabulous movie,
It was.
really insightful about just the craziness on both sides, and it's like, how did we get to that point? And certainly social media has exacerbated the problem because it's unchecked. It's out there and it's unchecked. And now because people have kind of, they've narrowed their focus. People choose their own news sources. You can find a news source that tells you anything you want to hear.
Ain't that the truth, brother?
And that's just fundamentally wrong. Doesn't that, in common sense, doesn't that sound wrong?
It's crazy.
And whether it's Antifa or Trump, whatever it is, it's crazy crap, So get rid of the crazy crap. What can we do to get rid of that? And again, I think it goes back to common sense. Here's the thing. Who's the decider? Does Mark Zuckerberg decide what's wrong or right? Or, that giving him that much power? That doesn't seem right either.
No.
But we don't have any other answers yet. We don't have, and unfortunately, it may take a deciding body that decides what is, misinformation or not. But boy, imagine the political, red herring of trying to put that together. It's going to be really, really difficult. It's hard to get the genie back in the bottle right now. And I'm saddened and angered by it, but that's what we have to do. We have to get back to reasonable. We have to get back to common sense. Have you seen any of the footage of some of the overseas people and how they're reacting to this? The emails I've gotten alone from people overseas are it's just unbelievable. People who maybe would even lean towards a Trump kind of presidency, a very right-wing presidency, are calling and saying, "What the hell are you Americans thinking?" It's a crazy time right now. And if we don't find a way to make the information more real, this is only going to get worse.
I could not agree with you more, man. Looking at the way everybody so blindly follows anymore. It almost kind of reminds me of Jonestown in a really bizarre, crazy way.
It's got cult-like. Certainly the people the other day could have easily been in a cult. They're replacing the a lot of them are carrying American flags, although a lot of the American flags have writing on it and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But they're carrying American flags, and yet at the same time, they take the American flag down on the Capitol and put up Trump.
I know.
That's crazy cult behavior. It really is. It's so shocking to me that that's what's happening. But why are they doing that? Because of the misinformation. They believe it. Now listen, there's a lot of people that want to believe it. They have chosen that they want to be passionate about this. They probably have other issues from somewhere down the line. But I don't know if I mentioned this the other day. I think I mentioned this, but in our first attempt at this.
Yes.
but a friend of mine came home the other day and said something to his wife, and he lives in D.C. and works in D.C. He works just miles away from where it all took place. When he came home, he said something to his wife, and his wife said, "No, this is what happens when people stop talking to one another."
Yeah.
Wow, is that ever the best advice I've heard in a very, very, very long time?
That is so true.
It's so insane.
And it's on every level.
Yeah, we have to go down we have to get to a point where, number one, there is a common truth. Let's face it, at one time we had Walter Cronkite, he was the bastion of truth.
Yeah.
And it's the opposite. We have now, split Walter in two.
Exactly.
And we have two different sides of the truth. We have to get that together. And then we have to talk to each other to address the problems. Because the problems that, and I'm not trying to get on Trump in this particular thing. I'm not trying to do that. But the reason people were drawn to Trump is because they had some genuine problems with things, and even though, so much of it was xenophobic and all that kind of stuff. And, there is all that, but for a guy that was working for 20 years at a factory in Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden his factory gets shut down, and no one is coming to his side. No one is there to, I mean, the Democrats really dropped the ball on that. They really honestly did. They let globalization happen without really, I mean, as did the Republicans, of course.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm saying both sides really screwed up. Trump came in there and told them, no, look, I'm going to give you hope. Now, personally, I think it was all a con. Manufacturing's actually gone down under Donald Trump in 4 years. But that was a big part of the message that drove him over the finish line, because he got a lot of people who genuinely felt, hey, somebody's speaking for us now.
Yeah. And
then a lot of those people probably got radicalized by staying on that, in all that media that expounds all that. Yeah. That's just and listen, we probably wasn't, I don't think he thinks of himself as a revolutionary insurrectionist. So there was no plan, but think of what would happen if we had somebody who was far more, because I think Trump is very, very smart, but I think he's smart only for his own self-interest. What happens when somebody comes along from either side who government works? He went to Harvard Law School or something like that. What happens when that guy gets?
Yeah. Yeah. You still there, Jeff? Lost you for a second.
He's unstable, but yeah.
Here we go. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you expounding on all of that. Let's talk about heavy hitters. Are you there, my man? There we go.
Yeah.
Zoom.
I'm here.
Let's talk about heavy hitters for a second. I personally think that record is off the hook, man. You guys rocked up some incredible tunes from Duran Duran, and Carole King, and Prince, Madonna. I loved it. Don Dokken, I don't think, had a chance to listen to it, and he said it was vanilla tunes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that indicative of Don's behavior typically, do you think? Well, you know him better than I do.
I do. Well, I mean, listen. Let me give Don a little, give him his due here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure he didn't hear it, and honestly, I'm not really concerned if he does or doesn't. But having not heard it, if I saw that list of tunes, I would say, yeah, there's some vanilla tunes in there. So that critique of his is true. The whole idea was to take tunes like that and make them cool, which I believe we did.
You did.
Yeah. So
in spades.
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, listen, I don't want to go into Don's mind right now. Yeah, I know him really well, and yeah, I have an opinion of his modus operandi and what he's thinking. But let's put it this way: I wouldn't expect Don to say something nice about somebody he views as competition. I don't view him as competition. I just view us as all, being, we're all musicians trying to do our thing. Yeah. So I'm not going to second guess Don or try and get into his mind, because I still love the guy. I really do. But, he's always been like that. He will always critique things and all, that's his thing. That's fine. That's fine. I wasn't so flattering of some of his Dokken records that he's done in the last several years. And, so I mean, I still love Don, but I'm not doing this to please Don.
I gotcha. And we spoke the other day, just as full disclosure for everybody. Jeff, to tell you how nice he is, we did a 40-minute interview, and my computer torched it. And Jeff volunteered to come back. So that gives you an idea of just what a cool guy this is. We spoke
the cool thing is we don't have to say goodbye because you got the last 5 minutes still.
That's right. That is so true. We spoke about the 6 shows y'all did in Japan, and you mentioned that door is still open in your mind. You guys must have had a really good time.
We had a very good time. And I think more so than the tour, I think musically we weren't at our best. I mean, we could have been better. But when we did the new song, it felt like Dokken. And it certainly made us all realize, wow, the chemistry didn't die with X amount of years, we still do what we can do. So the door that's open is for making a record. I mean, would we ever go on the road as Dokken again? I don't know. I kind of doubt it, but you never know. But I personally would love to make a final record that was really strong and that we felt really good about. I would be really happy about that. So hopefully we can, and hopefully we'll get that chance one of these days. And if and when that happens, that would be great. But with time and scheduling and everything else, we tried, before we did the M Machine record, first couple songs we wrote, we sent to Don, we said, hey, what do you think? This is pretty, this is much closer to the Dokken direction. How do you feel? And he wanted to do it, and then he realized his obligations with his current Dokken meant he couldn't release a record anytime soon. So we shelved that. But the communication is there, so maybe someday.
Cool. Well, you are such a busy dude, and I think the project that you did with Black Swan is, well, I'm not the only one. There's 3-4 different outlets that are all saying it's the #1 record of the year. On one of them, you guys were #1, and Ozzy was #7, for pity's sake. You guys have got to be super proud of that effort, because it was bitchin' cool.
How ironic is it that a record called Shake the World is the #1 record of 2020?
Ain't that the truth?
#1 in many magazines. I don't want to imply that.
Right.
Billboard magazine or something. But well, thank you, because it was a work of love. I dearly love all the guys involved. I mean, Reb and I had an amazing chemistry in Dokken writing. It was short. It didn't last that long, but we had a great time writing, and that was really the genesis of how we got this going, because Reb knew that it would involve writing with me, and that was that made him want to sign up, and I would have done the same, because it's a great chemistry with he and I. It's really fun. It's really natural. I mean, we have a lot of fun doing that. It's really fun. A lot of laughs. It's great. And Robin and I, I was the best man at Robin's wedding 27 years ago, and 28 years ago. I adore Robin. I loved working with him in MSG. We'd done a couple other little projects over the years, but to have a project like this and get such great acceptance was so fun, and to see the reaction that people had to Robin and the positive. I mean, I think everybody kind of loves Robin's voice just naturally. It's just great. I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about his voice. But he really got to shine on this record and really got to show what he's capable of and be heavy and cool and yet very melodic and soulful. And it was just, I'm so pleased how he came across on the record. And, and I'm really excited for the next record, because we want to show Matt Starr off a little bit, who's also a great singer, so I'm, as well as drummer, but yeah, I'm very, very excited. It's one of those things that feels serendipitous, that this band came together with the people it did, with the abilities that it has, and with the work ethic it has. And we are going to begin writing sometime in the new year. It was originally supposed to happen actually next week, but we decided, the COVID surge in LA is too bad, and it's just not safe for Reb to come out here. So, but when it does lighten up a bit, he's going to boogie on out, and hopefully we'll get to do something really powerful.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear you say you're going to showcase Matt a bit more. Matt worked with, or was the drummer for Ace when I worked with Ace, and right. Matt's just a cool dude.
He's a great dude. He's a great drummer. Great. I mean, his voice reminds me of Chris Cornell.
Yeah, it does.
It's like, wow, how cool is that? That's why if we ever got to play live, four guys that can sing, because Reb can sing quite well too, by the way. He
Oh, I
does
didn't know that.
harmonies that are spectacular. It would be the most dynamic, vocally powerful live band you could imagine, and I'd
Yeah.
love to do it.
And I know you guys have all got so much going on with your different projects. You think you'd ever get a chance to even do a few dates together?
Well, I would love it if we did,
Yeah,
but I gotta say, right now, thinking about live performance feels otherworldly, and
sure.
just getting Foreigner to get back on the road is going to be tough enough. So I, I'm I gotta say, it's hard for me to envision anything past that right now.
Sure.
I kind of gotta stay focused with what's going on, and one of the things I am doing is getting Foreigner ready to go back on the road, and it's kind of all I could even deal with. The thought of playing with either M Machine or Black Swan somewhere down the line, it just feels like another planet.
Yeah,
Not that it couldn't happen, it just feels that out of mind.
I get it because it's still so surreal. My wife and I were talking this morning while we were out driving about how we think, personally, we think 2021 is going to be really big for music releases, but we're not going to really start seeing, quote unquote, normal on touring until late fall at best.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think some summer stuff might happen still, but who knows? I mean, if this new strain of the virus, it could just look at how fast things can change.
Yeah, that's true.
And all of that weighs into why I can't even think about live performance for anybody except Foreigner right now, and so we'll see.
Yeah, because you guys are going to be so damn busy, man, with Foreigner.
Well, yeah, I think people are starving for entertainment, so the demand will certainly be there once the safety is.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. This year was a rough year for all of us, loss-wise. And I was thinking, you being a rhythm guy, Neil Peart, God, what a genius. And I've said for years in my book, Neil was a percussionist, and the rest of rock and roll has drummers.
Yeah. You're right. He had an orchestral flair about him, no question. Yeah, you're right. Big year. You know what's weird is Neil Peart seems like 10 years ago now.
Doesn't it? And it was only a year, a few days ago.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, yeah, I mean, and Eddie, to lose
Yeah.
Eddie this year, that was pretty astonishing.
Yeah, and Frankie Banali. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Frank.
a
Oh God.
rough year.
And these are illnesses that these guys had that we kind of knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie, I kind of got to say goodbye to Frankie in a way.
Good.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So, but that was in March. So he passed several months later. But yeah, I mean, listen, we're all mortal. It's gonna happen to all of us. I think that's one thing that leads into why, this year has been a year of reflection. You have to introspection and reflection. I think everybody is kind of forced to do it.
Yeah.
And it's probably more difficult for some people than others. But and it can be dark. I mean, I know that I've had dark days where it just kind of feels dark. And I have my meditation that helps me get out of that. But in a way, when I get moments of clarity, I think, in a sense, this is a healthy thing for those of us who are surviving, of course. I mean,
Right.
it's horrible for the people that have experienced the disease. It's just horrible. But I think this a little pause on reality, a little reality check, a little introspection. Those aren't horrible things, and maybe what we can do is we can make the events of the last year and what we're going through now turn into something good by concentrating on introspection and humanity, just humanity. I mean,
agree.
I've been with my family, which has been wonderful. I love my family, and it's just made me really realize how important that is. Because it's easy when you tour all the time. I mean, of course I love my family, and of course I always want to spend as much time with them as I can. But to have this concentrated time, especially with a 16-year-old daughter, it's just been wonderful to connect and bond, cook together and laugh together and watch a lot of Netflix together.
That is
It's
so
been great.
true, man.
Thank God I got that cool surround system, right?
Yeah.
Before we go December.
I think we all have kind of figured out that maybe the excesses that we all thought we needed, maybe not so much.
Very good point. Very good. I think you're right there.
Well, I tell you, did you know that today is actually the 37-year anniversary of Van Halen's 1984?
I did not.
37 years. I mean, watching my kids grow up makes me recognize I'm old, and then see somebody else's kids makes me feel even older. But good Lord, 37 years. Some of the anniversaries we've had of the records that you and I grew up listening to. It's out of control.
Well, I think Jimmy Page turned 77 today.
I know. Oh my God.
Like,
it's amazing.
wow.
Yeah. I mean, and 1984 had such incredible stuff on it between Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher. What an amazing thing. I heard that this morning, 37 years.
Isn't Al Wade on there as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, what a great record. You know that George and I got to go see one of the rehearsals for that.
Oh, did you really?
Down in Hollywood. Yeah, it was really trippy. It was, just it was actually like a sound stage. They were doing their production rehearsals right before they went on tour. And if I'm not mistaken, Jump was maybe out, but it was really new because I remember when Eddie started playing the keyboard at the rehearsal, I was like, wow, I just didn't expect that, I mean, I'm kind of having a disconnect of when the song came out versus the rehearsal that we went to. But man, were they on fire. They were just on fire. It was just great. I love that band.
Yeah, I do too. I was blessed to see them at a backyard party in Pasadena once. It's one of those things that just stands out in my mind.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow, cool.
It's a killer. Well, I've taken up a bunch of your time. Let me ask you something. Is there anybody that you have not had a chance to work with that would just be top of the mountain for you?
Well, I mean, we said Jimmy Page. It would be lovely to work with Jimmy Page. I actually got to do something with Robert Plant once, which was really cool.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was at a private event. It was at a wedding.
Cool.
That a good friend of both of ours. Although I'm not a good friend of Robert Plant, but I have met him before. But but long story short, the friend got married. She, more than anything else in the world, wanted the song "Thank You" by Led Zeppelin. And Robert wasn't going to sing, but then when he got to the wedding, he decided he would. So he called me up the day before, I think, something. Anyways, asked if I'd play 12-string and sing harmony with him. And he had heard that I had taken the song and made a cello and violin version for Jody to walk down the aisle.
Oh, wow.
So he said, well, can we throw in the violin and cello? And I was like, well, yeah, but I'm going to have to do a quick rearrangement because the arrangement they're doing, they do the melody. On this one, I want them to do backing. So I quick wrote up a violin and cello score. We practiced. Robert actually came to my hotel where my wife and I were staying. It was just the three of us in my hotel room. And, we ran through the song and, I made a little demo with synthesizers of the violin and cello part, and he said, "Yeah, that's all cool." So, and we went and did it at the wedding. It was amazing. What's really cool though? So Robert's known for not doing Led Zeppelin songs, right?
Right.
When he comes to our hotel room, I meet him in the lobby, and I mean, there's a whole long story involved in this. It was a crazy event. I mean, it was Kid Rock was staying at the hotel because he was going to the wedding too, and. Wow. It was just all this insanity going on. Anyways, so, but Robert meets me in the lobby because he's staying down at the beach. So he meets me in the lobby and we go up to my room. He walks in and he sees my 12-string. Actually, this 12-string right here.
Oh, wow.
And he says, "Oh, wow, can I play that for a second?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And he goes, And if I say to you tomorrow, and he starts playing what should never be,
Oh my
and
God.
sings it. Just my wife and I just sitting there, and he's singing that song for us.
Oh my word, man.
I mean, talk about a trippy moment. That was a trippy moment.
I bet. Well, you and I, when I came to your place and did an interview with you long ago, you told me the coolest story about Paul McCartney when you guys were playing the benefit.
Oh, really? I told you that one? Yeah, okay.
You did. Whenever you saw him headbanging.
Right. Well, it was the very last song. Okay, so we knew the set list because I spoke to Jason before the show, and I knew that they were going to end with rock and roll. That was going to be their very last song. So my wife and I are watching up in the VIP area, and we're watching, and so we say, "Oh gosh, we should probably, midway through the song, we said." We should probably kind of start to get out of here because it's gonna, once they're gonna be over and it's gonna be a mad rush and whatever. So we're in the VIP area. We're walking along, and my wife starts going like this to me. I'm like, "What?" She goes, and I look, and right next to me, it's Paul McCartney walking along with us.
Yeah.
And as we're walking, we get to this like area that it had a nice little view, and I think both my wife and I and Paul were all thinking the same thing. I just kind of want that last little watt before I go down the steps into the backstage area.
Sure.
So completely unscripted or whatever. We all three kind of walk into this area, and I didn't get any sense from him like he felt like we were being a pain or anything. I didn't get any vibe like that. And he was alone. He didn't have security people with him. He had people distantly around him, but he was just on his own. It was the VIP area. So we're standing in this cubby hole, and he's just, been a long time. He's, mouthing along, and he's literally shaking his fist and banging his head.
Wow.
And I do that naturally. I mean, I'm doing it in an interview. You can imagine,
sure.
When I do a live show. But anyway, and then he looks over at me, and we looked at each other, and we were like, "We're rocking!" And it was just the most insane thing. I mean, this is one of those little things. But my God, he's Paul McCartney. He's the reason I play music. If it were not for the Beatles on Ed Sullivan on February 9th, 1964, I would not be playing music. So.
It's interesting to see him as a fan too.
Sorry?
It's interesting to see him as a fan.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Well,
picture.
He makes. I mean, listen, where we were, nobody else, from the audience could have seen him.
Yeah.
But he was apologetically rocking out.
That's so cool.
He was being, and when you see him in interviews, he says he loves music. Why do you think he still does it?
Yeah.
I mean, he just happens to be a genius who was one of the greatest songwriters of the 20th century. So.
Well, brother, thank you so much for your.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
You are the most generous guy.
Oh, well, thank you. Listen, your interviews are good. You do. I like your work, and it's a joy. So
I really appreciate it. I try and keep it as organic and as real as I can. And
good questions.
My job easy.
Yeah. Well,
well, man, I'll catch up to you down the road.
You will indeed.
All right, brother.
Hit save.
Yeah, right now.